chopped off on the head? Yes.
Okay, that's better.
Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're still here with Allie. You know her from the last video. In the video before, we were talking about elevating the conversation, the dating conversation, elevating it from dating and moving it more into the relationship building phase, whether that is building your relationship with yourself, the most important one, or whether that is building relationships with friends, acquaintances, or lovers. So now we're gonna delve deeper into the conversation, which was about finding a partner who you can help grow into their highest self, and they can help you grow into your highest self. What does that mean, and how do you find a partner that can help you grow into your highest self?
Yeah, it sounds so daunting, right?
Yeah. It's like highest self. What does that mean?
It's not like possible.
Like a god? Like, are you gonna grow into it?
Yeah,
what is this?
Right, exactly. And all of it, I think, is kind of what we're going for, but we never actually totally are there.
Yeah.
I think first we have to stop and step back and really pay attention to the relationship we have with ourselves and the work and the growth that we can do so that we're able to recognize that person when they might be in our sphere or come into our lives, and also be ready to engage in a relationship at that level. And so that really requires a lot of what we were talking about in the last video about feeling complete as you are, and really working on how you nourish yourself, how you celebrate yourself. I mean, if this stuff sounds a little cheesy, and that's because we don't do it.
Right.
As a culture, we really don't. We push that off to the side and say, who has time for that?
Yeah, or you seem maybe egotistical or something, where you're too emotional, you're too in your feelings. That's a really big phrase. It's like, let me get out of my feelings. But really, you have to explore that. You really have to recognize, why am I in a bad mood right now? What am I feeling? What am I experiencing? Why?
In it for a moment so it can pass through me.
Right.
Because if we don't acknowledge it, that gets stuck and it will come out in some other way.
Bag lady, you guys know that Erykah Badu song, Bag Lady? Yeah, that's what she's talking about. Getting stuck in your feelings because you don't really express them and let them flow through you.
Right. And that's, again, a cultural pressure to not, right? We're not supposed to do that, and we're too emotional, and that's not the truth. We're really meant to feel into the things that are kind of overcoming us and allow them to pass through us and move on.
Okay, so I'm gonna shift the conversation a little bit because I think this is a big deal. So I think we as a culture have a problem with not wanting to feel vulnerable. And I think that's one of the big reasons why we don't like to feel our feelings. We don't like to be introspective and really understand why we're feeling, really understand ourselves, what our likes, what our dislikes are, be alone with ourselves, because it puts us into a vulnerable place.
Oh, totally.
So what is our problem with vulnerability?
Oh my gosh, because all we celebrate are strong people who, and the bow, like we talked about last time, we celebrate perfection and we celebrate people who are strong without realizing that the work that goes into it,
the behind the scenes,
and also that, you know, the things we really love, and art and music and self-expression are really about being able to tap into what's really going on, and sometimes the pain and the hurt and the struggle, and get into that and express it in some way. And to be quite honest, humans really relate to each other and bond the most over shared vulnerability.
Yeah.
And
shared vulnerability.
Think about your friends who you're most close with. You've probably been through something real with them and been able to open up and talk about it.
So humans bond the most over shared vulnerability.
Right.
And
shared struggle.
Right. And we talked about the human experience. Validating the human experience. A lot of the artists that we listen to now that are the most popular ones, for me anyway, the reason why they resonate with me is because they show something that I can relate to on a vulnerability level, and it makes me feel more human.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
Totally. I mean, all we really want at the end of the day is to connect with other people, and we forget about that a lot, because we put up a lot of walls to go out in the world. Because
I don't want to be vulnerable. It's right. I don't want anyone to take advantage advantage of my vulnerabilities, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be in the world, whether it be in relationships or with lovers. I don't want to be played.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a really tough balance because we do have to be able to take care of ourselves and create boundaries, and we have to be able to show up wholehearted and open up to people, letting them in and trusting them enough to be able to get to a place where a real relationship gets formed. And that's, to bring it back to the self-relationship, that's why that relationship is so important.
Okay.
Because
Why?
if you have some foundation of self-love, self-acceptance, and if you go out in the world, guard down, put yourself out there, and the world just kind of shits on you a little bit, you need to be able to come back to yourself and feel like you will be okay.
Yeah.
And you don't need that in order to move forward. So that is your place to really come back and say, okay, you know, I just recognize that sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
It's never guaranteed that people are going to receive what you have to put out there, especially any form of creativity. You're constantly in this battle between sharing vulnerably and seeking approval, but then not always getting it. And so the relationship with the self has to be something where you can feel nourished, and you're going to be on your own side. You're going to say, okay,
so that's
keep going.
self-talk. So that self-talk, that negative self-talk that we typically have, we need to get control of it, because at the end of the day, when you go out into the world, you're going out into a battle, you know what I mean, and you need to be able to come home to yourself and be nourished by yourself. And you know, hopefully you have somebody, a partner, that's what we're all seeking. That's why we're talking about dating here. You're all seeking this person that can help you,
or great friends,
you know,
totally,
family, you know, being around people that can help you do the same. I think that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
The camera cut out. So we cut, like mid-sentence, we were like on a flow. And mid-sentence, the camera's like, yeah, you know how, everyone knows how all YouTubers know your equipment will always chip out on you at the most inopportune time. So that's exactly what just happened now. So now we've lost our train of thought, but we were on a flow, so we'll get back there.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
So, okay, so we were talking about negative self-talk, getting a hold of that, being able to comfort yourself. And, you know, everybody's seeking a partner that can help comfort you as well. So if we shift the conversation then into highest self, how do you find someone who can help you get into, how do you recognize someone who is helping you step into your highest self, and someone that you can help move into their highest self? What does that look like?
That's a great question. And I think it really comes out of that relationship with yourself, right? If you love yourself enough, you'll know when somebody is not good.
So
and
love yourself. Okay,
you.
so let me stop you there. Love yourself enough. That, to me, that means accepting myself. Accepting myself. So when someone says, well, how do you love, what does love yourself enough mean? For that, I think it manifests differently for everyone, but for me that means accepting my strengths, my weaknesses, recognizing them, being self-aware. Self-awareness is a huge thing. And knowing how you typically react to things, looking at patterns in your life, looking at patterns of how you feel and how you speak to yourself, how you speak to other people, all of those things. Once you start analyzing yourself in a certain way, I think that's a way of stepping into learning how to love yourself. And learning first how to accept yourself and recognizing how you behave, and then learning to love yourself, right?
That you're worthy in every form that you take. I mean, I personally believe that every human is worthy. They're born worthy, and somehow the world takes that worthiness away. You don't have to do anything to get worthiness. So that's where the self-acceptance comes in. And Tracy McMillan has a line that we had mentioned her, I think, a bit back as an expert around
We're going to link Tracy McMillan's books and her websites below. Her TED Talks.
She says the difference between self-love and like what we tend to think of self-esteem or self-confidence. Self-confidence is like, ooh, I look fabulous, this is great. And self-love is loving yourself even when you don't, right?
Okay.
When you're on the couch in sweats and you're eating a bag of Doritos, you still love yourself.
The whole bag.
Right? Because it happens. And we can also accept that, okay, maybe I don't want to do that again. But it's coming out of a place, I think, really that perfectionism is that you alluded to before is so important. I am a huge perfectionist, recovering perfectionist, and when we speak to ourselves out of that harshness and being like, God, how could you possibly eat a bag of chips? What are you thinking?
Disgusting.
You're so disgusting, right? That's not self-love.
We've all been there.
Right,
You know, you've eaten that whole tub of butter pecan ice cream and then just looked at yourself in disgust.
Right,
So
exactly.
there.
So the self-love version is saying,
Okay.
all right, you did that for a reason, right?
Why? Why did I
And
do
let's
that?
ask why.
Yeah.
Shine the microscope on it.
Yeah. What was I feeling? Why did I eat that? What was it? Was it making me feel better about something? What's going on? You know, and really doing that introspection.
Yeah.
Introspection. Yes.
Yeah.
On why your behaviors and things like that.
Yeah, because if you love yourself, you'll be way more willing to change.
Yeah. And
grow.
There was this whole thing about, here's how I coach myself a little bit in when I'm learning to, you know, analyze my behaviors. I tell myself that I should be more compassionate with myself, be gentle with myself, be gentle, be more compassionate, the same way that you would be more compassionate to somebody else or a child who's learning, who's growing. We have to learn to have that same compassion for ourselves, and that's one way that I kind of comfort myself and let me feel comfortable with myself.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, be gentle with myself and things like that.
That's the self-talk.
Yeah.
There's also a line that a practice I've started doing. Lisa Nichols, another person we can link up, she's amazing, talks about abundance and creating abundance in your life. And she has a practice every morning. She looks at herself in the mirror.
Okay.
And that can be hard enough sometimes, just truly looking in your eyes in the mirror. And she says, Lisa, or I would say Allie, I want to celebrate you for, and you list 7 things that you want to celebrate yourself for, because that is one thing we do not do enough of.
No.
All we want to do is improve. And that's great. We also have to celebrate all the things we're doing well.
Yeah.
That's where self-love comes in, is acknowledging what we're doing wonderfully.
Yeah.
So, Allie, I want to celebrate you for these 7 things. Allie, I want to forgive you for these 7 things, because how do we hold on to things?
Yeah.
Right? And that's where we hurt ourselves, is saying. And then finally, Allie, I commit to you that. And then you list 7 things.
So, okay, what was it
commit
again?
to
It's
ourselves.
I want to praise or celebrate you for.
Celebrate you for, forgive you for, and commit to you that. We should be, just like we make commitments to other people, let's make commitments to ourselves.
Okay.
That's part of the self-love.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you do the work of figuring out how to do self-love, then you can take the next step, which is figuring out who's the right person to help you move into a higher.
Yeah, and sometimes I think of it as as you do that work, you can welcome people in, right? Because I tend to get very caught up on I have to do all these things, and then this can happen. Yeah. And people can really help us learn this along the way. And I think what we were really looking for in a partner, I know for myself, what I'm really looking forward for is somebody who stretches me. Okay. Who just kind of gets me to go a little bit beyond where I've gone before. And sometimes that is very tough and painful and challenging. And yet it should always come from a place where I feel like I'm growing and I can be nourished, and I am, at the end of the day, all good. The people who make us feel less than, who belittle us, who are judging us, you know, there's an element of growth in that, and yet it's not coming from a place of love. The actual intention is out of fear, maybe, or just total self-judgment. And this is why your relationship with yourself is so important, because it's also the relationship you have with other people. And so those who are constantly judging and criticizing, the relationship they have with themselves is the exact same way, or worse. Yeah. We always treat ourselves worse than we treat other people. Right. So when you treat yourself really well, you will be able to treat other people far better, and really acknowledge and forgive people for what they may do when they don't know how to love themselves. Yeah. Woo! Small potatoes.
I know.
No big deal.
Hey, we're gonna love ourselves tomorrow, and then we're gonna find that.
That's another thing. This is so ongoing, right? I mean, I've been really focused on this particular topic of noticing how I judge myself and turning it towards love for a couple of years,
Yeah.
and it gets better, and it's constant work, right?
So this is the work that you do with your clients?
I do a lot of this work with clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do they usually come in knowing that this is the work that they need to do,
No.
or do they come in with a different? What do they come?
Oh, it's career change,
Okay.
or I want to feel more fulfilled at work. It's a lot around professional life.
Okay.
Sometimes it's personal, but we're a really professionally focused culture, and
Yeah.
we want work.
Business, capitalism.
Right.
know.
Exactly.
Work, money.
Our identity and our work is completely interlinked.
Yeah.
So if work's not great, that means our identity might suffer a little bit. So,
But sometimes it's the other way around.
yes, exactly. And a lot of what we have to do is unlink the two.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because you're not what your work
Okay,
is.
so bringing it back to dating now. So
We were just talking about how do you use that self-awareness in your life, and how can dating be an experience where you gain more self-awareness,
Yeah.
right? And I personally try to think about everything in life as an opportunity for growth. It might trigger us a little bit, it might be painful, and we always have the choice to grow, and so dating's a great experience for that. Still, how do I use that to learn more about myself, to learn more about what I want,
what I'm attracting.
Oh, that's like, we could do a whole nother video on that.
Loaded.
Because we attract, what we put out is what we attract, right?
Yeah.
So use that as an opportunity. I've done that in the past. I've looked at relationships and said, the last 3 people all share this in common. Why? What am I doing to attract that person,
But
that
that's,
type of person?
again,
what do I need to learn?
You're doing the work.
Right,
You're doing the work of observing
Yeah.
yourself, of learning to love yourself by observation, and really understanding what your behaviors mean, what you're attracting, and all of that. So you're doing the work.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Do the work.
Guys, this is what I need from you guys. I need you guys to leave me comments below and let me know what direction you want me to take the dating series into. Right now we've shifted it away from the more commentary and kind of going into how do we build relationships with ourselves, with our friends and acquaintances, with our family, and with our lovers ultimately. So we're elevating the conversation a little bit today. I had Allie here today. She's been in our last 2 videos, so I want you guys to show her some love. I'm trying to encourage her to have her YouTube channel because clearly the girl has so much to say. She knows so much. So, but for now, I want you guys to go ahead and click on her guided meditations, which I will link below in the description. I want you guys to give this video a thumbs up, and I also want you to let me know what you wanted me to talk about in terms of dating, but the depth of dating and the relationship building, and the showing more love to ourselves and to inwardly and outwardly. So Allie, thank you so much.
This was so much fun.
Yay! Always, we have all these conversations all the time, and we're like, we need to film this. This is good. This is gold. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.